Forged in Foxboro, which you can now watch on YouTube. And at, I believe, Patriots.com if you go there and watch it. What'd you think? Initial reactions to watching Forged in Foxboro.
I love the inside look things, like the meeting stuff, the weight room, the workouts, hearing guys talk, like you talk about the Red Sox documentary. You find out sort of about players that you really don't know when you watch them. There's some points where it drags a little, as most documentaries do. But they're showing you the new place. They're definitely building that sucker up, and it's going to be state of the art. But if you like Mike Vrabel, you're going to get a lot of him and his staff here. That's for sure. The coaching. The coaching is the biggest difference I take out of this. When you see guys interact with people, you got guys with experience that know how to do it. Now you hope it works and all comes together. There's big expectations for this team now. You get a lot of people picking them double-digit wins. That's a massive turnaround.
They are favored in 11 of their 17 games.
Right now, yeah.
Yeah, well, what other day would you like me to tell you about?
I know that. But it'll change as the course of the year once you start playing games and guys get injured and stuff. But, yeah, we did this a year ago when they weren't favored in any, right? I don't think they were favored in one game.
Now they're favored
in
11.
Massive turnaround.
That's an 11-game swing before they've even played one.
Makes people that are invested in it, I think, a little bit nervous. And that, because
who's nervous?
Well, I would just naturally say if I'm coming in and walking in, and it's been a dumpster fire, and I'm told to take this over. Like you just heard us talk about last year at this time, they weren't favored in one game when the schedule came out. Now they're favored in 11.
Yep.
That's so
Year 2, Drake May.
Yep.
4th overall pick and a left tackle that you are telling us is going to be great.
I'm not stupid. That's natural pressure put on
And
yourself.
you had a bunch of signings in free agency, and this documentary highlighted how well you did in the draft. So, yeah.
Draft and free agency.
With all this success comes expectations.
Barmore's healthy, it seems like. That amps things up here. You got 2 cover corners that you can play a ton of man with. You got safeties that will knock your effing head off. Your defense should carry you in a lot of these games. Just don't F it up on offense.
All right, can I tear down the show now?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Number one, it's too long.
It is. I think it's
too long.
Hour 15, right? Or
75 minutes. It was too long.
It's about an hour too long.
The last 25 minutes were dragging.
That's my point. Like
holy crap!
I have severe ADD, and I just
guys
I
put
can't
together a 5 to 7 minute thing on that draft and be done with it. Oh my goodness, did it drag?
It's a lot of content to push out in the first one because you just want to give them a taste. Like remember when the Dynasty came out, and like the first 2, you're like, oh, this is gonna be really good. And then there was that point where there's 5 in the middle, didn't even like mention one of the Super Bowl wins, and it just started to drag.
third.
I have an 11-year-old who loves the Patriots and has a better attention span than Zoe. Okay,
It's fact.
And even he at one point was like, "How much longer does this have to go?" And I'm like, "Right there with you, pal. Hold on." Let me hit the pause button and check. Dragged. It was dragging ass at the end. You know why? Because they had to put on the Eliot show. Because they had to prove to you and beat you over the head with Eliot Wolf being in charge. They did. The clip we just played had a lot of Ryan Cowden in it, who I love. Love Ryan Cowden.
You know what I did notice?
Huge fan of him. Love his accent, too.
I noticed this watching
Got a little
the documentary.
wang to him. Sounds like a football guy.
You watch a video. And they're walking through hallways, and they're going on to the next thing. And it's Vrabel, and who's next to him? Cowden.
At all times.
Walking with him. That's his guy.
Big cameo by you guys in there.
Right at the beginning.
Yes,
Great.
we are in there.
That's why we went down there.
Oh, where you living? Oh.
That wasn't on camera. That wasn't on as part of the show.
They elected to put that on, not us.
Yeah.
Whatever.
The dramatic cart ride. Remember we saw him riding the cart?
Yeah. He's coming. Everybody's thinking, and the 50 people in the room with us. Yeah.
This has an opportunity to be really good. We all appreciate behind-the-scenes stuff.
I love it. We can't get enough content.
Let's hope this is the worst episode because they don't have a lot of practice footage to go to. They have so little to use with player interaction. They had the meeting that Vrabel had with the team, which was great. Problem was we had already seen it because they leaked it.
Yeah.
So
the Caden Wallace stuff, same stuff.
There wasn't really much new in the player interaction front.
It's going to get better. OTA start this week.
Once you have training camp to go to and practice footage to go to and on-field stuff to go to, great. It's being produced by the team, though, so it's going to be nothing but propaganda. Just know that as you watch, that everything in this will have an agenda. And the agenda of episode 1 was, look at how good Eliot Wolf is. Look at how good Mike Vrabel is. That was the agenda. You didn't need to convince us on Mike Vrabel.
Look how they're working together.
Yes, look at how
Look at them
harmonious.
joking around at the combine.
Look at how harmonious this relationship is. That's what they were selling us. And they, at times, absolutely clearly edited it to make this look like Eliot was just shouting out who they were going to pick in the draft. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Like there was no conversation. Get so-and-so on the phone. It's like, well,
It's like after the decision's been made.
you're telling me there was no discussion, even if you guys all agreed? It was
No,
like
they
there
told
was-
you they didn't agree on one of the
You
picks
weren't
that they had.
consulting with anybody?
They told
was
you
just
had a
like-
big conversation.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
it's out there. They've talked about it. I've talked about it with them. It was the number 2 pick because he was supposed to be there. So somebody wanted somebody other than Henderson. So
Well, they got offered to trade.
Well,
They could have traded out.
That was one thing that I kind of got hot and bothered about, by the way. The fact that you got multiple offers for Henderson, and it feels like in years past, especially under Belichick, you're taking that extra capital and getting a similar player down the board, and instead they stuck and took that player.
I'm going to tell you, though, that had they made that trade, which I'm glad they didn't, and I'm with you.
I want the player. I don't want the less pick down the board. I don't. want, we've done that. We've been there and done it.
The draft nerds would have been praising it like you wouldn't believe for that deal.
Yep.
They would have loved that deal because it was like 58, 78, and a third next year was the deal.
58, 79, and a third. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, boy. Oh, you get 2 top 100s and a third next year. Oh, that's what it would have been.
Yes.
It would have been that. It would have been draft nerds talking about how wonderful it is that they moved down the board like they were. You would have had to clean it off the ceiling. So that's what you would have had to have done in the draft rooms.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been cis videos. Yeah.
But we would have hated that because they did it later in the draft.
Yes, and I hated it when they did it later in the draft while everybody else was praising it. So I just want to tell everybody, decide what you like. Choose one of those paths. You can't simultaneously say they were so smart to stick and pick and draft the running back while also saying they were super smart later on in the draft.
Yeah.
Tell me what you actually prefer.
It shows you what happened when you trade back and you get lower picks. The last 6 years here, how you've drafted. Like I'm ready to stick and pick now. I'm ready for the other way. I'm a stick and pick guy now. Stick it and pick it.
Get Travion Henderson on the phone. Oh, get Kyle Williams on the phone. All day long. It was like, it wasn't even talking to anybody. Just Eliot knew. Just such conviction.
That phone is not plugged in.
Yeah, phony is what it was.
You got to find somebody else now next year to call the draft picks because Cam Williams is gone. Yeah, he's
And
the guy that initiated the calls.
That's a big part of the takeaways here.
It's a big loss for them.
What a loss.
He's.
I mean, we had always praised Cam Williams as a fan base. I think Cam Williams, for a guy who's not in the most high profile of roles,
behind the scenes,
I feel like fans were pretty aware of who he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I said it 2 years ago. He's gonna be a GM one day soon.
You want to talk about a guy who commands the room?
Big time.
It's him.
Young guy, too.
I'd promote him to GM right now over what they have. I would have given him the job if you were going to start firing people left and right again. As much as I say clear the decks.
I've done some draft stuff with him, and just to watch him work the room and go through picks and say how we acquired this guy, who's in on him, who interested, which guy got held on a layover, which scout was there. Like,
When did he
his
start
memory-
interviewing for jobs? Why did he leave for Denver?
Because like if you're Denver and you get a whiff of it, and you're Sean Payton and you're running a good organization, you hear about this guy, and he's in a lower role. Like, let's go get him and elevate him. 'Cause
But that
he'll
didn't
come.
happen
They
overnight.
Can't stop it. No.
So did he want to leave?
Well, with Elliott and Calvin here, he's not leaving.
Well, they brought in 2 more
I
guys.
mean, he's not staying.
With a new coach, they
Right.
brought in 2 guys with more significance and influence than probably anybody else who had previously existed in the department. They bring in Cowden, who's got a big voice.
Yep.
And they bring in Stretch, who's Vrabel's right-hand man.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, is he saying, well, my influence and voice here is being minimized.
Right.
I'm looking for a new gig. His deal was up, is how I read one report.
Yes.
So his contract was
Contract was up, so it
was
opens
up
you
at the end of
to-
the draft.
yeah, and Yeah, this is where a lot of guys make the move at the end of the draft. Once you get through the draft process, and those contracts are up for the personnel guys. But yeah, and he also hired Alonzo Highsmith's son, too. Don't forget about that. But he can stay in a lower role because he's not going to threaten Cowden or Elliott. You know, he just worked with Elliott before, so there's common knowledge there.
Need to shorten up the episode. 75 minutes.
It's long, man.
But I do think the coaching stuff, the actual football stuff, proves that they would be an excellent fit for Hard Knocks. And they should have raised their hand.
I really would have.
Are they trying to kill Hard Knocks with this? Would be my question.
That's good. Yeah. Hey, we don't want to be.
That's what I thought initially.
The NFL want to start shifting. Well, it doesn't mean they won't be back on there. Won't be on there next year. But our team's going to want to take this in house, where they don't have anybody from the outside with any sort of editorial ability.
But this could be so good that the NFL's like, yes, we want to see more of this.
I mean, I don't think
big maybe too.
You think it's groundbreaking in nature? No.
I don't know.
No, it's not. And it lacks a narrator, which they need. Like Behind the Beat or Hard Knocks.
At the beginning.
It needs to
move it along.
Move it along.
At the beginning, I thought Rich Eisen was being a narrator because they got him on his show. I didn't realize, that was part of his show that he did when he was talking about the Patriots. But I thought, wow, they got Eisen to narrate this. No.